And then YouTube says, hey, maybe you're streaming now. Maybe you're streaming now.
Maybe you're streaming.
Maybe you're streaming now.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We may be live. We may not.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe we're just in the void. Not my problem.
So we are. Hi, internet.
Yeah.
We're late.
Little.
Should I? Yeah, we're late. My fault. Sorry. I had a math midterm, which is why I kind of look like crap because. Oh wait, there goes all the YouTube money. Oh well. I kind of look like not good because I am tired and coming down from the stress high of that midterm, which I'm junk at math, so
it's a little fun when it comes to all that.
That's why we're late. So sorry. So because of that, give me a sneeze. Because of that, as the editor walks away, that's fine. We don't need him anyway.
You don't
so,
need me. I'm
because
gone.
of the editor, ladies and gentlemen.
I do what I want.
Because of that, we prepared a little bit of a lot lighter topic today because unfortunately I had not had the chance to research anything significant because I was busy researching math.
You know, preparing for schooling.
Need that school mark. So,
oh yeah.
Now that that's done, what exactly did we prepare for you today? Well, we prepared for you a little topic called consoles. We all want them, we all love them, we all need them. I think we all need them. I'd like to say we all need them.
Perhaps we do need them.
I say we need them.
I mean,
them,
they
I
are.
I can just hear the price rising in my head.
Yeah, it's like they are just computers that you can't change, customize really. I mean, you can customize, but you can only really customize the outside. If you customize the inside, you warrant the warranty.
You could customize the inside, but you'd void the warranty and maybe get sued. But you know,
but hey, computer
consoles. So, specifically on the topic of consoles, we're talking about the PS5 and the Xbox. Well, they're both PS5, right? Yeah, they're both PS5. Just one's considered the discless version. There's no official name for it. It's just the discless version, I believe, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Is it confusing? Yes, it's confusing. It is what it is.
Well, when it comes down to it, why name proper? I mean, you went from Xbox 360, Xbox X, Xbox Series XX.
Next one, the Series X of XX. 4 generations from now, it's just gonna be 3 generations or 4 generations from now. It's just gonna be Xbox XXL. The massive server.
We do a little bit of naming.
That's what they call their servers, just Xbox XXL. So they're hard to get it right now, as anyone who's tried to get one can attest. I can attest because I've been trying to get one. I have one.
I mean, mind you that we did have a wonderful little thing that happened around Egypt, where
Egypt?
Oh yeah, have you heard about it?
No, because I am not Egyptian.
The little canal that got blocked, the canal that didn't, because a boat got stuck in it, and nobody could go from the Sea of Europe to the Sea of India. Thus, that entire part was completely cut off, and trade was blocked for at least a week. And then it happened again immediately after, when it was cleared.
Well, before I say anything, dear editor, I believe your volume is a little lower than you.
Ah, that's so. What do you mean by volume? In what?
Like your voice volume. It might just be me though. It might
what voice? Like when us talking to each other or the audience?
Like us talking to each other. I'm not too sure how that translates to the video though.
Okay. Well, if wonderful viewers, if you see something, ignore it.
Ignore it.
Ignore it. Allow me to do this. Ignore it.
Ignore it. If you see the trade secrets of our channel, ignore it.
You see nothing. There is no information to see. You don't know.
You hear nothing.
You hear nothing. You know nothing. You hear nothing. You become nothing. And now
You become nothing. We
I
make you
have.
into nothing.
Don't mind me. I have a wonderful little small mammal. Yeah, no mammal beside me here, and it has been interested into the window that is above me here.
Doesn't look
If you start hearing anything,
It's-
ignore it.
It is said now.
Ignore it.
Or as some people call it, emergency food.
Oh.
Don't
Demonetization
worry, we do
looms.
not eat that.
And it's
Don't
like
worry, we're good.
demonetization just kind of looms over top of
I
you.
hear,
You
I hear
remember
the-
me, don't you?
I hear the chains of YouTube. I hear the chains of YouTube's past coming through the door.
Bum, 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 ba-da, 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 bum, bum, bum. All right.
Be careful.
So.
You will be demonetized.
Consoles.
Okay,
What
consoles.
are they? Small computers, but computers.
Anyways, back to the topic because now that's so as anyone knows, we've had a thing called the pandemic. You might have heard of it. It's been on the news recently.
A combination of things really just did not do them any favors when it came to that.
Honestly, like you can really trace it back to, I think in my mind, like two real big incidents. One of them being the pandemic, which forced everyone to social distance because consoles obviously
anything
on
that
massive
was
production lines.
anything that was already produced or already shipped out or being shipped out, we're good there. But
yeah. Consoles, like by the time the social distancing thing came in, they were already starting to just ramp up console production, so they didn't have many built, if at all. So they were already forced to social distance, which if you ever tried to social distance on an assembly line, it doesn't really work. So it's caused
an
a
assembly
great
line for a reason.
It's called an assembly line for a reason. Everyone's squished in there being told, make it. Or machines these days, but still.
Well, when it comes to something like a console, I believe that there'd probably be at least still a fair amount of actual people working there compared to like a car assembly line or something like that.
Yeah, car assembly line where it's mostly autonomous at that point. But when it comes to things like consoles and stuff like that, you've got that, which really hammered and basically really did affect and hurt the number of consoles they could produce by the time the actual release date came around. Speaking of release dates, you might also remember in the case of PlayStation 5, and I don't think this was any better on PS4, I don't think this was any better on the Xbox Series X-S, but when PlayStation released the release date of the console, it was on a big announcement. That was literally the night before the consoles actually went live. A little short notice.
Just a little. That's
just a little.
Here, that's a little short.
But whatever. So, this was exacerbated, however, by the fact that they're like, okay, it's going to go live tomorrow. This event was very big and stuff like that, so a lot of people learned. However, Walmart, being Walmart, said on a tweet, literally as the thing ended, yeah, no, we're going to put them up now. Anyone can have them now. So unless you were monitoring Walmart's Twitter for some reason, because I don't know, maybe you're Twitter stalking Walmart.
You do that.
Because we do that.
We do a little stalking.
we do a little Walmart Twitter stalking. Don't stalk people on Twitter. That's not good. Do not endorse.
Well,
that.
I mean, let's be honest here. It isn't really hard to go and just kind of see people's tweets, but don't just sit there menacingly waiting for them to tweet something after 8 months. Because at that point, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Why are we still here?
So Walmart basically, just as the thing ended, said, hey, we're going to release them now. You can come and get them. So again, unless you were monitoring the feeds of all the big distribution or all the big, companies that were selling these consoles, you wouldn't know. Yeah. And since the supply was already quite limited at the time, put surprise release mixed with the fact that now there's not a lot of consoles to go around, and you can probably guess what happened. Gone like that.
Just a little. It's gone. No more. You're not allowed to have
it.
And
it wasn't. And unfortunately, because Walmart did that, it kind of cascaded down the line. So by the time the actual release date came out, suddenly there weren't actually any consoles on the actual release date because they've already all been bought. But here's the thing. anyone who knows anything that's big and novelty will probably tell you one word. And what is that word? Bots. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. We all
I'm sure
have
the
our
bots
fair
already-
share of experiences with bots. I mean, even those who go camping have good experience with bots.
I'm sure bots were already standing by during the presentation,
Oh yeah.
maybe in case something like that happened, which it did. So guess where all those consoles went? Not in the hands of the people who wanted them, but in the hands of the people who were going to sell them to the people who wanted them, i.e., scalpers. In fact, I think there was one picture that went around early on in, for example, PS5, where you saw one scalper, I think it was on Instagram, standing in front of just this mountain of PS5s that he had ordered and basically just saying, here, you know, you're going to have to come to me for them. Memory serves, I believe he got knocked off. Now, just for a disclaimer, I do not endorse stealing. But in this case, I really can't blame them.
Yeah, you can't completely.
If you're one of those people, you're just kind of asking for it at that point. So,
Don't mind me.
don't mind our editor.
Some
if
of you
want.
who have pets know exactly how I feel. That feeling of just the pet doesn't know where it wants to be, but it wants to be both there and here at the same time.
Kind of like me on Wednesday.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, and nothing more.
Nothing less.
And then there is Xbox Series X-S. Was that release any better? Not really. Because
that release was a little bumpy.
It was a little bumpy, a lot better than the whole thing of Walmart, what happened, which was, I believe, the early release. I don't believe Xbox had the same issue of early release. But nonetheless, they were also impacted by, again, the aforementioned virus, which limited the amount of consoles they could make by the time of release, which meant, again, not a lot to go around. Bots were already willing to scoop up what was already there, and so by the time all things went and said and done, the people who got the most were the scalpers. And this is an issue right now because, well, as our dear editor Justin is showing, Xbox is the home of Halo. And
yes.
Guess what's coming out in a few months? Halo, what's it now? 6?
Infinite. It's apparently infinite, which I didn't know. I didn't know 5 went to infinite.
They just skipped like 99 million numbers. And they're just like, you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, infinite.
Who needs numbers?
And what's the next one going to be called? Infinite Squared. So, math jokes, kids. Sorry, I just came out of
We do
math.
a little bit of mathematics.
I don't do that often, I swear. But still, Halo Infinite is coming out in a few months on December sometime. I don't remember. I think it's early December.
It's around December, at the very most January, so.
No, I believe they have a release date.
They have a release date, but as I always say, don't always trust the release date. Just don't.
Especially nowadays.
Don't expect the worst, prepare for the best.
Honestly, personally speaking, I feel like they will try their damned hardest to get it out by December. Why? Because December equals Christmas, and Christmas equals a lot of cash.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is if they didn't come out with the new Xbox reveal and like the new release, then they gotta sell it home for where they've got left, which is,
Yep. Because again, this wasn't meant to originally come out with the Xbox Series X, but that did not happen because of, well, problems. What those problems were depends on who you asked, if memory serves, but they delayed it, and now they're finally ready to release it around Christmas. However, on the topic of Xbox Series X and S, like I said, they're, according to the article you can actually find in the thing down below, where if you're looking for an Xbox Series X, I probably should have gotten one for PS5 as well. Sorry, I just thought about that now, but
it's fine.
Whatever.
It's fine. At the end of the day, I mean, it's not perfect, but it is going to be pretty close to what it is.
Mm-hmm. But right now, as the article says, which if memory serves is an article by Games Radar, Xboxes are apparently harder to come by these days than PlayStations, the newer one. So with the big game, i.e. Halo, around the corner, you can imagine the demand is going to go up even more. And it's not hard to see why the Xbox is in much higher demand than PlayStation. Not a knock on PlayStation by any means. It's just the fact that, for example, PlayStation only has a backwards compatibility to the PS4, whereas Xbox Series X is actually backwards compatible to the very first Xbox in terms of discs and everything. Which I'm sure is a massive selling point, especially for people like me who've been around for that long. So, with massive libraries that span generations, pretty big selling point, I'd say.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, you gotta like this big thing, that big franchise. Gotta do good. You do good, you get more money. Get more money, well, you get more money.
Which is kind of funny because, again, back when the whole rumors of the new consoles were coming out, before they'd even revealed anything yet, there was actually rumors that that was PlayStation's whole angle and they were going to try and do that. But interestingly enough, it was Xbox who managed to pull that off, not PlayStation. So, what are you going to do? According to the rumors, the reason why PlayStation couldn't pull it off is because while they were able to do backward compatibility to the 4 pretty easily, the reason why they couldn't do to the 3 is because here's the thing. The actual system for the 3 was so convoluted and so difficult to program for that it was just a nightmare to try and get some kind of emulation on the PS. Because again, nobody wanted to work with it ever again. So they just kind of said, you know what, to heck with it, we're not going to do it.
We'll do what we can. Doesn't nothing. We did what we could.
Me, I personally couldn't see why they couldn't emulate to 2 and 1. If you're not going to do 3, fine, but why not 2 and 1 then?
Yeah, that's the big thing, is because at least most consoles, at least to my knowledge, tend to go and follow like a type of line of how they progress, in which the base code and then you just kind of build upon that for every iteration. So it shouldn't be that
they might
hard,
have been,
but you know, if they decided to do something different than that, then well,
they might have just been trying to go in chronological order down, and once they got to 3, they're just like, you know what, too much work, screw it.
Goodbye.
We got 4 at least, that's something.
Yeah.
But what it is, I'm not happy about it though, because I have a massive library of PS2s, which I still want to play, but whatever. So Xbox X's are hard to get a hold of these days, but also PS5s are just as hard to get a hold of these days. Again, scalpers don't make this any easier, because here's the thing. For those who don't know, we ourselves have mentioned in the past, me and the editor Justin over here live in Canada. In Canada, well,
home of the free to enjoy.
There's no such thing as a surplus of anything up here, unless you're talking about maple syrup.
And logs, you know, wood.
Lots of logs.
Because that industry is doing good for itself.
Everything that's here gets shipped up here either by order or by on demand. So if it doesn't need to be shipped up here, chances are it's not going to get shipped up here, which is why things are a much lower quantity down here. So if you're one of our US viewers and you're like, dang, things are hard to get up in the States, trust me, we know, and it's worse up here.
Some of us are not as lucky as you. Just saying.
No.
Just
that's
saying.
Not insulting your player base. Honestly, though, yeah, it's a nightmare. Xbox Series S's, interestingly enough, in Canada have flooded the market and are still fair enough to get a hold of, but here's the thing. S's, for those who aren't aware, is the discless version of the X. And since the whole selling point of the Xbox Series X is backwards compatibility to the Xbox, first Xbox, if you don't have a disc, that's all null and void at that point. Plus, after that, you can't actually use any of your discs even from last generation, so you basically have to purchase everything online, and then there's that to deal with, and you have to deal with,
it's
library
just a big hassle when it comes to that kind of thing.
So, it is, you can see why nobody really wants the S unless they really, need it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can
that's the thing. Like, the only people who would want to get the S are probably those who just want to have like more graphics, more like a little bit more storage when it comes to their games and stuff. Like, there isn't
even
that much you can really get with the S, but it's enough for some people.
Like, don't get me wrong. I can see why people would want the S, especially if you're in like an apartment where there's not a lot of space. Then yeah, that makes sense. But I'm gonna just roll the dice here and go on a limb and say most people probably want the X because of its features.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
It's like there's some aspects that are good, but yeah, I guess at that point it comes up to preference, I guess.
It is up to preference. It is indeed. But again, X's are very hard to get a hold of. They're, well, easy to get a hold of if you're on the black market of eBay and any other third party sellers. But here's the thing, like all black market merchandise, it is 6 times the asking rate. In fact, I was actually there just recently. And here's a funny story, actually, ladies and gentlemen.
I went to the black market.
I went to the black market. The asking price of both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 is $7.99 Canadian and $5.99 US. Pretty impressive, considering most people were actually joking that probably with how high tech new consoles are and everything else, wouldn't it be funny if everyone prices it at $1,000 flat? Well, here's the thing. Apparently, some corporations actually thought that was a literal question because, guess what? While the asking price on things like Microsoft and PlayStation is $7.99 and most places $7.99, guess what places like Walmart are charging? $1,000. I am not even kidding.
Aren't they the ones who started selling it sooner?
Yeah, they're the ones who started selling it sooner and have now entered the scalping business. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like Walmart anymore. More for less.
Well, but don't read into don't read into this. But American company.
America. Even then, like you look at things like Walmart, right? And I was actually looking at Walmart.com because I have VPN. Quite simple for a lot of, quite nice for a lot of things. And I was actually looking at the US version of Walmart. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, my US viewers, but I actually saw the price at Walmart on the US is $9.99 or something like that. So they're selling it for $900 something, when again the asking price is $700. Like I said, I was not aware Walmart had entered the scalping business, but apparently they have.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And it's not any better for things like the PS5 if memory serves. So you can get an Xbox Series X, but you'd have to be willing to pay through the nose. And like I said, when everyone was joking when these consoles first came out, wouldn't it be funny if they're $1,000? Apparently, some people took that literally. And so here we are. In a position where consoles are really hard to get a hold of and scalpers aren't making it any bloody easier. Don't feed them, ladies and gentlemen. Just I try my best not to feed the scalpers either, but
well, you kind of have no choice.
At some point
when it happens, it happens.
Like, here's the funny thing: when all this first happened, some stores, like ironically again Walmart, did not have a lock on the amount of consoles you could buy, and so people could just basically buy them in bulk. And guess who wants to buy them in bulk? Bots. And guess who bots sell?
I wonder why.
So they were just bought up in seconds. Honestly, I was very lucky I was able to get a PS5 when I did, and that was because I actually went through a store that I didn't even know sold console. Am I going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen? No, because I'm an idiot. I'm keeping my secrets a secret, but I will say this much. Don't always look at the primary retailers. You'd be surprised who sells consoles, like, outside of the obvious Walmart and Best Buy and stuff like that. I'll say that much. And like I said, if you're looking for an Xbox Series X, or just in general, down below you've got an article from Games Radar. They give a nice list of places to keep an eye on. Things like Amazon and stuff like that. Always good if you're trying to look for them. Though, like I said, be prepared to wait because it's a bloody nightmare to get a hold of anything these days. So, there we have it. We live in an age where, despite the society, honestly, we live in an age where, despite the generation of consoles technically starting last year, it won't technically start till maybe 2 years from now because nobody can get a hold of the next gen until then. It's kind of hard for the next gen to begin when no one can get their hands on the next gen.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
In fact, I'll even say it here. In fact, I can say this. I'll call it here. This has been the first generation that has technically been a shadow release. It's technically started, but it hasn't really started because no one can get their hands on it. So it's almost been like a shadow or a soft new generation. Or new generation release, I should say. So if you have a new console, congratulations. If you don't have a new console, stick
You're
with
one
it.
of those people who are the few to succeed.
You're the lucky few, ladies and gentlemen. And don't boast about it. Because
Yes.
trust me, I remember being in the position where people were boasting about it and I didn't like it. So chances are you won't like it. So
Well, that and tend to boasters end up getting bad things happening because welcome to the internet.
welcome to the internet. So like I said, if you have one, congratulations. Best to keep it to yourself.
I mean, like, you can go and tell your friends, even go and like tell it to that one guy who's been like really rude to you about it and all that. It's like, I'm gonna get it before you. Then
be
yeah,
like,
no.
I got it. Just be like, yo, I got a new console.
It's like, I got it before you did.
But honestly, yeah, like, stick with it. If you have one, be discreet about it because no one likes to hear a person who's boasting about consoles, especially right now when Halo's around the corner. And if you're a big Xbox fan and you're looking for Xboxes, which again are apparently harder to get than PS5s, right?
Luckily for what it is, this coming Halo isn't going to be like the other ones where it's like it is only releasing for the console, new console, and we're not going to go and make a PC version, despite the fact that we did for the first two games.
Well, again, here's the thing. Like, when it comes to the, here's the thing. Like with PS4, I can kind of see that because PS4 is not a weaker console. Like it's a weak console because it's an older console, but it wasn't terrible for the time, and it's still decent enough to run most stuff. But when it comes to like the new Halo, which already had graphical issues out the gate, in terms of like just like I did with Cyberpunk.
Let's just hope that those graphical issues at the beginning there was due to it being early, like in development or something, like an early build.
It was like a dev build where they didn't, the one took a little longer to process than it needed to because the programming wasn't exactly efficient enough yet. So let's hope so. But again,
we'll see.
I honestly will think that despite the fact that the new generations of consoles have released, and there's this whole new door of possibilities because now the new consoles are so powerful, they can do ray tracing and stuff like that with ease. We're probably not going to see that for a while, despite the console generation already releasing, because here's the thing. Usually already, because games that come out with the consoles were also developed typically for the last gen consoles.
Yeah.
So they're, not as powerful as they could
be. A lot of games when a new console is coming out will always be developed as if the old console, like to play for the old console, because they don't know if it will be released with the new console or not. So,
but that usually tends to die down pretty quick once the new generation happens, because then everyone starts scooping up the next generation. But because of the way things are shaping out now, that transitional period will take 2 to 3 times, maybe even 4 times as longer before we actually start seeing the power of the next gen being utilized. Because again, when you build a game, you have to build for the lowest common denominator, and it's no really point to build a PS5 game only for the PS5 if like maybe only 10 people have it. So don't expect to see any major improvements in terms of graphics from any of the major streamlined, like major developers until quite a while from now, because despite there being a PS5 and PS4 version, again, there is only one real way a game could truly be more powerful than that if it's base coded for a higher gen console, because sometimes things will be just turned off, and maybe the rays won't be as maybe the lighting won't be just as advanced, or the shadows won't be as, shall we say, in depth.
Beautiful,
for example. It's more just they toggled this on and they toggled this off. There are some like ports of a game from one generation to the next which really look different, but those are more the exception, not the norm. So don't expect to see any like ray trace, like 350 FPS like or 4K graphical games that are pushing the boundaries.
222 PI.
Don't expect any ray trace 4K, pushing the boundaries of what a game can look like for quite some time.
Yeah.
Not until the numbers of how many people have these consoles can go up enough. Because, I mean, at this point, they can't even trust their own sales numbers because most of them are bots anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting better, but, don't expect it to change anytime soon.
Just a bit.
So,
I mean, we'll see. Hopefully that, like, things are getting better for some things. They'll be able to actually really, keep pushing for the production, and everything does go well with releasing and all that. But we'll see. We'll see about that.
We will see. So, yeah. Shorter episode today, like we said, but,
still,
the R&D department has been very busy.
Well, not still an important one, that's for sure.
Still an important one. Consoles must be talked about because right now, especially like I said with Halo coming up, it's yikes. It's going to be even worse to try and find an Xbox. And already they're hard to get a hold of, so they're going to be nightmarish to get a hold of now. That is unless, like I said, you feed the scalpers their 6 times the asking price. Which is just...
Yeah, don't do that. That'll end well. So well.
I'd make a joke about what happens in like 4 generations and it'll be this price, but I don't want to because last time we did that, it actually ended up being that price. So I'm not going to jinx it. I've learned my lesson.
Bad things happened today.
Bad things happened when we did that last time. So yeah. I guess we can wrap up here.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, like it is, we'll see where they go with it. Really, it'll definitely be an interesting situation to see what they've got to hopefully make up for lost time, because plenty of money has been lost in this time period at which things have been slow.
Like I said, you're not going to see any graphical defying games for a while until, like I said, they can actually start truly developing for next gen. I mean, they're already kind of trying to do that.
Yeah, they're starting to do that, but don't expect it for like another 3-4 months at the most, or at the least, really.
Yeah, and don't expect it to be a mainstream thing until much, much later. I mean, they're going to do it with specific, very high budget titles for these things where they're making it purely for the next gen, and you'll be like, oh, they're so beautiful. But as for mainstream, don't expect that for a while because, like I said, there's just not enough people who have it at this point to justify making a game purely for that console yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. The 5th generation is a mess, and we all know it. Hopefully you guys can get a hold of one. I'm going to try to keep getting a hold of both of them. Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, and we're leaving off on an interesting note with the physics of Halo 3.
On the physics of Halo 3. Again, gameplay provided by our dear editor.
Wonderful. Wonderful. It is not beautiful. Well, hopefully you enjoyed.
So if you're wondering where the gameplay comes from, blame him.
I'm terrible.
I'm terrible. We're going to go cry in the corner.
I'm going bad at the game.
Hopefully you enjoyed. And in the words of the immortal Red Green, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. Good night.
You put the Master Chief in the shade.